Alright, picking up where we left off. Sorry for the long delay between videos. Because I had dinner. After dinner, basically, I had to do dishes, and I also had to do a stream and take out the trash. So, doing this now, get done with. Okay. Now, I was about to start talking about issue 114, where basically Daredevil has an encounter with Man Thing. Yes, Man Thing. I believe this was the first time that Daredevil ever met Man Thing. Yes, I think like the last comic he appeared in was I think it was a Kazar book. I think so. Yes. So takes on Deathstalker, who by the way, like I mentioned last video, he last appeared prior to this issue, back in issue 41. That was his last appearance. Of course, you have Glider here, and of course, more stuff with Tasha. She's like running off, and we even have now. This is set in Citrusville, which is where Swamp Thing's original comic was based, and also they bring in a supporting character from his book. Yeah, he comes as a quick guest star, and that leads to more with the Deathstalker. Yes, as for who this guy is, well, we're about to find out. It's like, yeah, so Daredevil goes back to New York after being in Florida for 2 issues. Yes, 2 issues in Florida and right back to New York. My only guess is the reason why he's able to afford to fly back and forth because he's the assistant DA. That's probably the reason for that. Yep. So, of course, you have Tasha with Irvin again. Now, here's basically Candace. For some reason, I'm not sure why this is. Candace is drawn to look like Gwen Stacy. Yes. Like, I look at her. Now, they say this is Candace Nelson, who is Foggy Nelson's sister. But based on the hair, looks like Gwen Stacy. Now, here's the thing. At the time this came, I think Gwen Stacy's been dead for a couple years at this point. Now, why in the world that the hair is dark, the shade of the same hair color as, of all people, that person? I'm not really sure. So, basically, Daredevil has a rematch with Deathstalker at this plant where he falls into this vat, and he kicks the other guy, and looks like he supposedly kills him. Yes, and then we issue 116. We have another encounter with the Owl. Love this guy. Yep. Yeah, so Lashley keeps calling about Matt Murdock. Yeah, this relationship's not gonna last much longer. I'll discuss more about that when I get to volume 12, which has the end of this relationship. I'll get to that. So, yeah, great answer with the owl. I think the owl stuff is really good, and it's a basically like a two-parter. Mm-hmm. Yes, I believe so. Now, part of this particular issue, the last time that the owl had appeared was back in issue. Well, he previously appeared in the Cat #2. Yep. Yeah, that's where he was just featured. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me check something here for Leland Owsley, aka the Owl. Let's see. His prior appearance in Daredevil was in, get this, back in Daredevil 81. And that came out in 1971, which I believe that was the start of the era of Black Widow being with Daredevil as a real character. After this two-parter, he's not seen again for, oh good gosh, a long freaking time. He's not seen again until 3 years later, where he was a freaking man bull. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and then after this issue here, and then we have The Return of Circus of Crime, and the debut of a character named Blackwing. Yes, that's this guy's name. He is a Jerry Conway character. He's not a very known Jerry Conway character. No, he's not exactly somebody people think of when we think of Jerry Conway. Well, here's the thing. After this issue's next appearance on issue 122. Yeah, the weird thing about this guy is he has not made many appearances over the years. After a few appearances in Daredevil, he appeared again until Captain America 376. Yeah, that was the next time he appeared. As for why in the world it took so long for him to make a return, no idea. It is by far one of the most baffling things related to some of these characters, where to make a long disappearance. Yeah, and the Circus of Crime itself. Here's a fun fact for you about the Circus of Crime. The last that I ever counted him was back in Amazing Spider-Man 16. In the 60s. Yes. Because mostly put, they kind of become semi-recurring characters in Spider-Man of all things. Despite appearing first as Hulk villains. Yes. First final issue of Hulk. Well, Incredible Hulk Volume 1, the issue 6. Then he appeared in the first issue of Avengers. And then they got dumped off in the pages of the Spider-Man. So, basically, she's being tasked by the Owl to retrieve Shaun of the She-Devil as a prize to free Matt Murdock. Nope, not, well, Daredevil actually. And of course, then the Owl flees. He tries to flee, but gets beaten up, but he gets captured right away. Yep. And then, of course, we have the 118, which is basically be a Black Wing, where, like I said, next appearance, 9 to issue 122. Yep, because, and then we have 119, the last issue in here. It's basically Daredevil versus a souped up, basically a boxer on super steroids. I am not kidding about that. Yeah, he basically fights this guy called Crusher. And he appears with one issue. Why? Because he dies. And there's also got a Dr. Jockerberger. And apparently, like, this issue basically killed off, like, 2 people in the same issue. They apparently killed off a character named Crusher. Another one who lasted back in Iron Man number 6. Back in 1968. Yeah, this guy, previous pages of an Iron Man comic. I'm sure my friend Edgar tried to familiar with him. Yeah, for some reason, it's like, oh, let's basically bring an Iron Man villain for one issue of Daredevil. And then apparently kill him off screen. Yeah, it's kind of weird. How this guy here made 3 appearances. He made 2 appearances. The next time we've seen, he's dead. Yeah. Now, as for why the heck this issue would have, I don't know. It's weird. And it's the first issue by Tony Isabella. Yeah, it seriously is. It is one of the more weirder ideas than with the character. Yeah, and also Candace herself. Yeah, Candace Nelson. She basically became, like, ever since she first started One Wave, she became a semi-recurring character for a while. And then she got dropped, and she appeared sporadically at, like, a few times afterwards. I've discussed most of her appearances to date, except for issue 122, 130, and 160. Everything else I've discussed. Yes, as for why in the world she has not made a return since issue 375, that was actually the last appearance, by the way, back in 1988. Why in the world is that? I do not really know. It's just weird, to say the least. Yeah, but that's not much else to say about this book. It's definitely good, per se. But wow, we're into Tony Bell issues. I heard he got fired because apparently Lean Ween was not a fan. Who, by the way, he was the editor of the book. Yes. And I'll discuss more about this when I discuss the remaining issues of a very brief run he had on Daredevil. Yeah, his run was very short. It was like only 5 issues, and they got replaced by Marv Wolfman. That's not a joke. It seriously is true. It's like he was on this book for a very brief period of time. Yes. Shoot, that's not what I wanted there. Yeah, he gets replaced with issue 124 of Marv Wolfman. Yeah, after only building a book for about 4 issues. Mm-hmm. Yes. But I'll discuss more about the weirdness that is Tony Isabella's run. Yes, Tony Isabella, like I said before, co-creator of Black Lightning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as for comics he wrote, he had over 137 comics from Marvel. I mean, his first comic was a book called Zombie. This was a really interesting book. Yeah, and the last book he ever did of Marvel was... This was a shocker for you. Marvel Comics 1001. He did work on also Marvel Comics Daredevil back in 2000. It's just an alternate reality of Daredevil. And that was the last comic he worked on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was the last comic first he worked on aside from the 1001. That came out like 20 years ago. Yeah. He has a lot of real like noteworthy times at Marvel. It seems like when it comes to a writer like him, he doesn't usually like stay in the book very long. Maybe when it comes to like Black Lightning, of course. That's what it seems like anyway. It seems like he's booked for a very brief period of time, and then he leaves. Now, in case how I feel about Steve Gerber's run, this one was actually really good. And it just seems as though with his run, he was mostly put just wrapping up stuff what he wrote in their books. Like the stuff with Shauna the She-Devil. Basically, the stuff her appearance in here was probably meant to be a continuation of the Shauna the She-Devil ongoing series that was probably canceled due to low sales. Yeah, that's probably the case of the reason for that. Mm-hmm. Yes. That is just my personal guess, anyways. Yes. Of why in the world they decided to do this with this character. Yeah. But the thing is, at the 117, she is dropped. She's no longer appearing in the book. So technically with this review, I have discussed all the appearances she made in Daredevil. And it is probably true that basically this is a continuation of stuff that happened in her book. Yep, though she already met Zabu. Not Zabu. She kind of basically showed up in the Kazar book for like the first couple issues, and then appeared in Marvel 2-1, and then she's like, oh, let's just basically have her appear as a recurring character in Daredevil, making one last appearance 117, and then back to Kazar stuff for the rest of her time in Marvel. Yeah, it's like I said, pretty much she was there just to be a supporting character for her man Kazar. Yep. But I think Steve Gerber's run is something that should be looked at like as something that's a very interesting run per se. Like if you're a fan of Steve Gerber's work, you would love this run. If you fan books like his run from Man Thing, which basically you continue to say it's just a similar continuation whatever he wrote for Man Thing. If you're curious how long the original Man Thing comic lasted for, it was 22 issues. Shauna the She-Devil, 5 issues. It has a second volume, feature completely different Shauna the She-Devil. No, I'm not kidding about that. Seriously, it's true. Okay, so that's it. It's good we get for a particular view. I might have another comic corner coming tomorrow. Probably a few. A couple anyways. Plus, of course, some interviews tomorrow. I will have time to do that tomorrow, okay? Next video. Bye.